It's weekdays with Lee Dixon on your iHeart radio station. Thursdays we check in with Craig and the gang at Ulverston Real Estate for a peek inside, a look at the markets on the Northwest Coast. And last week we focused in on Grizzly tales of the offer that got away. This was so good that we needed a part two. Craig's back with me in the studio. Hello.
Hello, Lee. Pleased to be back for part two.
It's either going to be better or worse than last week's.
Well,
which way are we going?
I think we might be heading south for this one, so I want everyone to buckle in. So last week I mentioned an article I'd read some years back where 71% of agents surveyed agreed that the first offer is usually the best offer. And I support that majority opinion. However, each situation where a buyer makes an offer needs to be assessed on its own individual merits, taking into account market conditions and the vendor needs and expectations.
Naturally.
That's a fair summation. So you might remember last week I recounted a situation where we took a property to auction, vendor refused to listen to the market and rejected an offer well into the market value at the time.
Yep.
You remember that?
And it didn't pay off in the long run for her.
No, it didn't. And she subsequently sold the property for about 10% less 4 or 5 months later. Well, today I've got part two of Grizzly Tales of offers that got away, and I think this one may have some relevance in today's uncertain economic climate.
Mate, the floor is yours.
All right, so a lady contacted me and she wanted to talk about selling her lifestyle acreage. It was 2 acres, a solid home, a shed, fairly usable land in a handy location. And when she met with me, she told me that she'd been with another agent who'd told her she'd get well into the 500,000s. But after about 4 months, there'd been very little activity. Sadly, she'd split with a partner and it was a challenge for her to maintain the mortgage payments. Very sad indeed.
Yep.
And the market had been softening and the bank was now on the front foot asking for her to get up to date with payments.
Uh-oh.
Now, that's when alarm bells should be ringing.
Yep.
And I believe she had around 400, 420 on the property. So she was under a fair bit of pressure and I really wanted to help and I knew I could. And during the last campaign with the other agent, he'd brought her a couple of offers in the mid to high 400s, but she'd rejected them. I suppose you could see me doing the palm plant on my forehead when she told me she'd rejected offers in the mid 4s.
What are you doing?
And she's owing about 4. So I swung into action. The plan was to get the price away from that 500,000 mark and into a price maybe with a 4 in front of it.
Well, if that's what the market's saying,
exactly,
that's where you go.
And that's what I painted to her. And the market had spoken with the mid to high 400 offers that she'd knocked back. And most importantly, the market was softening further with less buyers willing to dive in. So time was of the essence. She agreed to a pricing strategy to put the price at from $499. And after about 3 to 4 weeks, this brought dribs and drabs of buyer interest, no offers, and sadly, the pressure was mounting from the bank.
So what do you do there?
Well, I implored her to act now. Like, don't muck about and get it to a price that buyers could not resist. Get ahead of the market and get a sale and avoid the bank taking it with the likelihood of the bank fire sailing it and she may still owe the money. That's a horrible situation to be in.
Yep.
So we moved the price to 475,000, and bingo, in they came. Within a week, I had 2 offers. One was at 450, the other around 455. And that was as far as either buyer wanted to go, and they were ready to. They were cash. They were ready to go.
Yep.
And reasonably quick settlements. Job done. Bank off her back with a little bit left over. Do you think you know where this is going, mate?
Well, I don't think I do actually.
Oh, okay. So. Yep, she rejected both offers outright.
Oh, no.
Yes, she did. And still believed that 500K plus was achievable and told me that if I couldn't bring her an offer close to that, don't bother. Now, with both buyers that moved on, the mid-400 buyers that I had, there was very little further buyer activity. And within a couple of weeks, I got notice from the bank that they'd taken possession of the property and they would be handling the impending mortgagee in possession sale process. So the bank did sell it. I think it was about 3 or 4 months later at public auction. Any guesses, Lee, what she got?
It wasn't good, was it?
Well, not what she got, what the bank got.
Wasn't good.
380,000. So that leaves a gap for her to fill in on what she owed. So the bank took it and she still has to owe them the rest.
I've got no words.
No, neither did I.
I've got a couple I probably can't say them on the radio.
No, you can't, but I was devastated for her. So, and the bank would have chased her for eternity to cover that shortfall.
Yep.
So there's 2 morals here to consider. 1, when the market speaks, it speaks loudly and clearly. If you ignore it, you aren't going anywhere. Number 2, if the bank comes a knocking, get it sold to avoid being turfed out and paying any shortfalls to them on a home you no longer own.
Yep. And of course, you're a vendor, not a real estate agent. You should be listening to your real estate agent.
Hopefully they do. Yeah.
All right, mate. Bring us some good news next week, will you?
Mate, we're going to have a ball next week.
All right, mate. Talk to you in a week.
Thanks.
It's A Peek Inside with Craig Heppel of Ulverston Real Estate, and this is Weekdays.